If you lived in Skopje back in 2002 to 2004, when I did, along with my wife Jennifer, this might be the only thing you remember about Skopje was this building, which is from the 1920s, and the Skopje sign. Pretty much everything else is new. Here's the warrior on a horse statue, which everybody knows is Alexander the Great, but it isn't called Alexander the Great. This is a new Marriott hotel, which is opening on Wednesday. Over there, there's going to be a Marriott courtyard, which is under construction, along with almost everything else. Cafes and so on. I would say, how many statues are there? No one knows the true answer to that, but there are probably more statues here per capita than anywhere else in the world. There's a remarkable number of statues, none of which existed when I lived here 12 to 14 years ago. And there's also an awful lot more pedestrians and cyclists and people just out in the center of the city than when I used to live here. Really, when I used to live here, it was a pretty quiet, sleepy place. It wasn't super pedestrian friendly. Say what you will about the place, there's a lot of derivative architecture. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But there's a lot more people. It's certainly more alive. There were virtually no tourists living here when I was in Skopje, 2002, 2004. Now there's quite a few. I've seen a number of tour groups today from Turkey, one from Malaysia. I met tourists from Brazil, Australia, lots of different places. This is the Museum of Archaeology, and of course straight ahead is the old stone bridge, and that's a whole slew of statues. And two more new pedestrian bridges too, the I Bridge and the Art Bridge. Fascinating. Those bridges were not here when I lived here. The place is basically unrecognizable. From a visitor's point of view, I have to admit, I know a lot of people have criticized the amount of money that's been spent on all these buildings and statues and such, and there's 3 pirate ships, by the way, too. 3 pirate ships, plus they're also building an eye, like an eye-style Ferris wheel on the river, too. Not to mention, a little bit outside the downtown, they're building like 3 or 4 40-story apartment buildings. Kind of unbelievable. And a huge Ferris wheel that's going to be just like the one in London. Not to mention the fact that they've got a couple of lions by one of the bridges now, just like the Széchenyi Bridge in Budapest. And of course those bridges over here, the pedestrian ones, are sort of meant to be like the Charles Bridge in Prague, I think. And the Millennium Cross, of course, I remember that was new when I moved here in 2002. But apparently now there's an elevator. You can go to the top of that thing. Anyhow, this is the new Skopje.